How to divvy up the band fund. Firstly, what is the band fund? Well, that depends on the type of band you are. So, in our case, I am the sort of sole responsibility dictator of the cash, for the reason that it has been running that way for the past 10 years, since way before I met the current ensemble. So I've realized that ensembles come and go, and there's got to be someone who's responsible for handling the kind of financial decisions. But if the band had started with, for example, myself and any of the other guys, and we decided that was going to be a kind of a joint venture, then I would be more than happy to hand over the responsibilities, or to share up the responsibilities equally. It just so happens that it's difficult to do that when you've got a team of guys around you and you don't know if one of them is going to just drop off the map tomorrow, because then you've got a problem. Then that guy, he has spent, for example, let's say we had a completely neutral, like 2 or 3 way split, and everyone had like their own bank card and access to the money, or financial decision making power and like that, who could just basically draw out of the band fund if they broke their effects pedal or something like that, without actually having to decide or run it past the others. If you had that situation, then you would get guys that it would basically very quickly become, you'd be incentivized to do your own thing. So I mean, there's got to be a certain amount of trust between the band members for partnerships like that to work. The advantage to that, of course, is that everyone feels personally motivated to do the work, because that means that when some kind of reimbursement comes in, that everyone gets equal stake in it. And I would love to know what that's like, and I would love to try that out, because the system that I'm working with at the moment, having the kind of sole decision-making power, and it's stressful. The total responsibility is on myself. And let's say, for example, we do a wedding and we pick up 10,000 Rand as a result. Now you've got a situation where that figure has to be broken down into performers and gear rental and all sorts of other little things. The timing, how much effort has gone into creating the band, and the performance for that event also has to be considered. Like, so for example, if you've got someone who can only make 1 rehearsal a month versus someone who is putting in a lot more effort than that, then it's not fair to divide it evenly. So I think it just comes down to communication and saying, all right, well, it's only fair that so-and-so gets less and so-and-so gets more. And most of the time, I mean, everyone's happy with it. There's not going to be any bickering about it at this level. But I am trying to set precedents here with my specific band that are able to be scaled up without people feeling like they're getting cut out of the loop. The other thing is, like, if you're talking about a corporate or a function, then that's quite a simple decision-making process, because generally the rate that you're getting is higher, and it's easier for everybody to do the rehearsals and to do the work and to do the performance and still feel like they're being compensated fairly. The issue is that when you treat your band as the kind of, we call them the trenches, in other words, like a band on the scene, you don't have to play specifically what some client wants. You get to actually just cut loose, let your hair down, and play whatever it is you guys want to do. That's a difficult thing to create or to co-create here in Cape Town, and I'm not sure how it is elsewhere in the world, simply because people feel that they want to be creative and also be fairly compensated for it, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be a worthwhile venture. So if someone lays the groundwork, say like we got a new band member in this particular ensemble, and they lay groundwork for like a year or 2, and they co-write compositions, and then those compositions are like performed live after they leave, then how do you compensate them for that? I mean, we're talking about, this is before kind of royalties and radio play and any kind of like split like that. We all know venues don't actually pay their royalties, their performance royalties. So I mean, it's a difficult thing. Like the guy's like very invested for a year or 2, and then suddenly feels like he's been dropped out of the loop. And sometimes it's not for any reason of their own. It's like circumstances change and people come and go. And that's why I think the most fair system is to just have one guy who goes, all right, the band fund is essentially, my money, but that also means that when the band needs money, it comes out of my pocket and not out of everyone's pocket. I'd like to see at some stage, if it's possible, later on down the line, to kind of share the financial responsibility and the financial accessibility with the rest of the guys, just to see what that's like, you know. And I think what that would do would also create a sense of personal investment for all the other guys. So it's not just, you know, John's telling us we've got to do this, John's asking us we've got to rehearse now, John's telling us, John's giving us this much. It's more like, all right, well, listen, if I put in the effort, if I make this a worthwhile, like, live entertainment act, then the profits are going into my pockets, unfiltered, you know. So that's all just thinking about it from a financial perspective. You know, as we all know, this is music. This is not, we're not the most business-minded people to begin with. I just feel, you know, I've got to step up and just kind of make these kinds of decisions. And I just encourage communication from all sides at all times, and any kind of sharing of the responsibility would be great. But I guess this is what it looks like when you actually are somewhat serious about what you're doing. Cool.